At school, at work, wherever you are in any aspect of life, you are constantly surrounded by people who probably excel you in all sorts of areas. They're better at school than you. They're more athletic than you. They're stronger than you. They're more charismatic than you. They get more attention than you. And it seems to be natural. Like, they don't have to they're just better than you, and without doing this self-improvement phase that you're doing. Like, it seems to have been very natural to them, innate since the moment they were born. They never had a phase where they were just doing anime and video games. Like, no, they've always been at 10, whereas you had to go from 0 to 5. But I'm telling you, it's actually not that way. My name's Louis Angel. If you don't know who I am, I make self-improvement videos, and in this video, I'm going to give you a picture-perfect example, a real-life example of how if you took those alpha, Chad, whatever they are, and you brought them down low, they would not rise to the occasion. I'm here to show you that the work you're doing is actually worthwhile. So, I'll start off with the example. So, I currently work as an aide for a family in their home taking care of their disabled son. This disabled son, he is mostly physically disabled. What I'm saying is he started off with a neurotypical brain. He was born like any other boy. And the dad recently told me that when he was 9, he asked to go run with his dad and his friends. And his dad was like, "You kidding me? This kid's 9. He's going to keep pace with us?" They could not keep pace with him. And then he enlisted him not a marathon. Why did I say marathon? He enlisted him in a local race. He came in like one of the top 10 in the category of like 14 to whatever, and he was 9. So this guy was like a real running prodigy, like right from the very beginning. And to my knowledge, he did decently in school, at least. All I ever heard from him was about running, but he was a normal guy. He was born into I don't know if his dad was wealthy at the time, but he was born into a wealthy family, like loving family. Seems like they were perfectly functional, was born with athletic gifts, was good in school, upper middle class, maybe even upper class, considering the house I've seen them have. And he had a seizure, to briefly summarize it. And a group of seizures basically put him into a quadriplegic wheelchair, can barely move his arms, can barely move his legs. He has to have someone wash him, bathe him, clean his diaper, feed him, basically everything. And it did affect his brain a little bit, but a lot of his personality is still intact. And let me tell you, this guy is not pleasant to take care of at all. He's not an angel. He frequently lashes out at people. He doesn't put in that much effort into the exercises. Like, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt for my sake and think, oh yeah, he's doing as hard as he can. And that's what my friend says too. But the actual family members, the brothers and the therapists that we work with, the physical therapists, say, no, we've seen him put in a lot more effort. He could be doing more. He's not doing as much as he's capable of. And assuming their perspective is correct, he doesn't put in that much effort into the exercises. These are the exercises and stretches to get him better, to get him walking and moving again, and he doesn't put that much effort into them. He seems to have basically given up. He's pretty much just content, like, being fed and getting into the shower and having someone else do the exercises and stretches on his body. Like, he appears to have no motivation and drive whatsoever to, like, do any, like, minor action he can to improve his life. These are the normal people we're talking about, the people who were born into normal families and seem to be, like, at 10s all their life. Because let me tell you, if this guy had not had those seizures happen to him, he'd probably have done well in school, well athletic. He'd probably have a high-paying job right now. He'd be the type of guy that you would consider, like, oh, he's way above me. But no, an accident happened to him and he defaulted to his default programming. So, what are we to do about this? This reminds me of a quote from a full section of C.S. Lewis's book, Mere Christianity, where C.S. Lewis talks about, oh, you think you're nice? You think you're a generous person? Well, here's the thing. You are nice and you are generous, not because of you, because of your soul, but because of the genetics you were born with, the disposition and the temperament you were born with, the environmental factors that you grew up in, circumstances. You are as nice and as generous and as soft-spoken as you are because of the circumstances that God gave you. None of that belongs to you. And what if God took away those circumstances? Would you still be so nice? Would you still be so generous? That is why it is so important for us to do self-improvement and to be as generous and as charitable, as compassionate, and as disciplined as we can, because we are trying desperately. You and I, you are trying desperately to raise your default level. Because so that if something happens to you, but there's another part of the book where he says, imagine we are all trying to drive cars. This isn't the exact analogy he used, I'm paraphrasing, but imagine we're all trying to drive cars, and some of us are just given bad cars from the get-go, so we have to compensate. We really, really try and learn how to be good drivers. Meanwhile, the people who are born with good cars are just coasting by. The people who are born with good cars are people who are born with good temperaments, good talents, nice skills, and the people who are driving bad cars, you know, you were born with unideal circumstances, different genetics, so you're not as charitable and as nice and compassionate of a person. Even if you are ruder, even if you let a lot of stuff slip up, you could be trying harder to be a better person than the other one. And when you die and when you go to the next world or the next heaven or whatever, and you are given the perfect body, oh, you're all of a sudden better than the person who was a 10 out of 10 or like really nice all their life, because they were relying on the situations God gave them, whereas you were trying extra diligently, and now you ended up becoming a better driver. And C.S. Lewis says that this is his interpretation of the phrase, the first will become last and the last will become first. So that's all to show you it's not all in vain. Your attempts at becoming a more compassionate person and a more disciplined person, they're not in vain. They do have fruits, even if they take a while to show. I can say that personally from this job. This job has made me really, really try to be a more compassionate person in my attempts, because I've been forced by this patient's unideal behavior to try to be as compassionate and as understanding and as sympathetic and empathetic as I possibly can. This self-improvement is going to make it so that if one day your car gets into an accident, you will not go back to your default programming, because the bar will be set so much higher from all your work. I hope you learned something today, and remember, it's not learning if your behavior doesn't change. Ciao.